What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Gamecite Chronicles, the console gaming podcast where we sit down each and every week to talk about video games. I'm your host, Bonfire, and this is episode number 33, and a special episode indeed, because today I am joined by an Xbox fan from across the pond over in, I think it's the UK. He'll correct me here in a second. He's the owner and editor of Xbox Tavern, an Xbox-centric website. Jamie, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much for having me. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say good afternoon, good evening. I'm so confused with the time difference. And yes, definitely UK, definitely UK.
Okay.
Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to chatting with you about video games of all sorts.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and it's the afternoon here on the west coast of the United States. So it's just about 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So it's good. You know, got with work done a little early so we could hop on the call. So it's good. I know it's pretty late for you. So like I said, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, especially so late in the evening, to chat with me.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, no problem. I'd only be sitting here playing video games anyway. So any chance I get to chat with someone else is great.
That's awesome. Well, we've got lots to talk about, but remember, for those that are new to the podcast, the best way to support the show is to drop a comment, leave a rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. You can also find me on YouTube, where I do podcast clips, YouTube shorts, so you can check that out as well. Over on Locals, which is a kind of a Patreon-like alternative platform, the Gamesite Chronicles.locals.com if you want to check out the podcast there. And I'm actually toying with the idea of releasing it early on that platform, so stay tuned for that. You can follow me on Twitter at Gamesite Podcast. Remember to catch new episodes of the show each and every week on Mondays, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, Jamie, for those that are kind of new, and myself included, that don't know too much about where you hail from, can talk to me a little bit about your website, Xbox Tavern, and in kind of your realm in terms of gaming and your platform.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. I'll keep it brief. I started writing for Xbox Tavern about 5 years ago, and the guy who originally founded it, Mark, he left about 3 years ago, and he handed me the keys, as it were. And ever since then, I've sort of taken over running it. So I've got a good team, about 12 guys, who we focus mainly on Xbox reviews rather than news and stuff like that, because we've all got full-time jobs and families and kids and everything else going on around us. We just about managed to find the time for reviews themselves. We also do a podcast every week on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on youtube.com/Xbox Tavern Official, where it's myself and 4 other lads from the site, and 2 of which I've known pretty much since I was a child. We talk about video games, Xbox, give each other some ribbon and have a good laugh along the way. And in terms of gaming, I mean, I've been playing games since I was 4 or 5 years old. I started with the Master System. Lots of different types of games that I play over the years. My favorite game ever is, surprisingly, not an Xbox game, Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
That small title that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll play anything except for sports games, pretty much.
Okay.
And like I said, on the website itself, we cover as many titles as we possibly can, both big and small. I like to personally prefer to cover the more independent style ones, the smaller ones, just because I enjoy exploring that sort of side of the industry rather than just playing your big AAA blockbusters left, right, and center. And yeah, that's about it. So if you want to come and check out some of our reviews, we've got several go up this week. We've got plenty more in the works for the next couple of weeks, including one which I was playing before I come on here, which you'll be able to read about next week at some point.
Okay.
So yeah, come by and say hello.
That's awesome. That's really, that's one of the things that I've noticed in perusing the website is that you guys tend to focus. There's a lot of focus on those smaller indie titles, which I think is awesome, because obviously when you go to the big outlets, there's not that focus there because of clicks and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I really do appreciate that. So I'm kind of curious. In we can talk about it a little bit more in detail. But what are some of your favorite indies you've been playing lately? Because that's a big focus on the site.
Yeah, despite the amount of games I played, you'd think I'd remember at least a couple but I sort of play it and I'm like, this is awesome, right? Let's move on to the next one. Let me just have a quick look. I recently reviewed a game called The Gallery, which is a live action FMV, like choose your own adventure style game.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of a game called The Complex, which was by Wales Interactive. It was a release, something in 2020. The same director created this. And it's good. It's not as good as the Complex. Complex, I think, is probably the best example of the genre, but it's about it's a very political story of strife and unrest amongst the government, as well as there's like two alternate timelines, and it also has a timeline of about the pandemic that we've just gone through, and about the
Oh wow.
government's handling of that, and
Yeah.
it gets a bit arty farty at times, shall we say? But it's good. It's enjoyable enough, especially if you like those choose your own adventures type things. So yeah, so definitely want to check that one out. And also a game called Isonzo. I don't know if you're a big fan of first person online shooters.
Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that game pop up, and yeah, I used to play a ton of FPS games. I've kind of fallen off the bandwagon lately, but yeah, I like my FPS games.
Yeah, it's a very different style to what you might expect from something like Call of Duty or Battlefield or Apex, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It's much more slow paced, much more tactical, and
Okay.
uh, it's like one shot is then enough to kill a player basically, and it's almost like in Battlefield where you got like the game mode where you got to move the battlefront forward in
Yeah.
order to capture the objectives. It's like that, but because it's set in World War One, everything's a lot slower. You've got single shot rifles and pistols, and it's really good fun. I played with some of the Tavern crew last weekend. We're going to play some more this weekend, hopefully. If
Cool.
you're into that sort of thing, definitely go check that game out.
Okay. Cool. And is that on all platforms, or is it just Xbox, PC? Where is
That
that?
is on all platforms. That one, and it's got
Okay.
crossplay as well. So
Oh,
there's a
nice.
decent amount of people on the servers to play with at all times. So it's good.
That's good. That's really good. Cool. Well, I want to this for this week's show. I wanted to pick your brain on Xbox because I know you're very Xbox focused, clearly,
We are, yeah.
and there's a lot going on in that space. In terms of acquisitions, games, Game Pass, all the stuff. So
Yeah.
I want to touch on kind of a few of those topics through various questions that I have for you, and we can kind of dive into that. But first, I did reach out on Twitter, and I think one of your colleagues chimed in on this for any questions or kind of topics to touch on. And so I wanted to touch on that first. And so Nutty
Cool.
Ray, who again I think that's one of your colleagues, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Hi, Ian.
Yeah. So he asked, "What is your favorite hot sauce?" So let's start with that. It's just it was a fun one, and I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some maybe some context I'm missing here, but fill
Yeah,
me in.
so I'm amongst sort of our group of friends. I'm the one who's always trying to eat the hottest sauce he can find or the hottest chilies he can find.
Okay.
And I've got a fridge full of different sauces, which I've been grateful enough to be gifted over the years. But one in particular, which it comes from over the pond, as it were, called the bomb. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Uh-uh.
It is. It's not the hottest one, but it will blow your socks off in terms of its flavor and its taste. And just a small amount of that is enough to get the sort of the warmness coming in, shall we say? So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm going to go for that just because it's hilarious giving it to people who aren't quite expected it, and they try a little bit and then spend an hour trying to chug milk and eat ice cream or whatever to get rid of it.
Yeah. Now, I'm not much of a hot sauce guy myself. My brother actually, he loves his fair share of hot sauces.
Oh yeah.
That's not really my thing. I can do a little spice, but not too much spice. So I kind of stay away from that stuff. But I'm kind of curious, since you are so into this hot sauces, like when you have a meal of whatever it is, like do you just drench it or do you just put a little on there for some flavor?
Depends what you're having. Like I said, if you're using the bomb, you don't you're like a pipette's worth. But I've
Yeah.
got some other ones which are much nicer, which you can sort of slaver on there as much as you like, and they're still warm and they're still going to give you a bit of a tingling sensation, shall we say? But yeah, it
Okay.
depends what one it is. But the more, the better, generally.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now he also says don't mention Resident Evil, and I gotta ask, what's the deal with Resident Evil?
Well, as he will tell you at some point, I'm no doubt, and anyone who's listened to our podcast, anytime Resident Evil comes up, we end up going off on a massive tangent because that's one of my favorite game series as a whole.
Okay.
Ever since I played the first one, I played it on the Sega Saturn way back in 1995, whatever it was. And any chance I get to talk about Resident Evil, I will take it for as long as it will last. I
Yeah.
won't bore you with it today, but one of my favorite, other than Breath of the Wild, like I said, one of my other favorite games is Resident Evil 2 remake specifically.
Yep. That's a
Um,
good
I,
one.
have you played it much?
Yes, yeah. I never played the original back on the PlayStation 1 days, I think it was, but the remake was my first kind of introduction into that game, and it was fantastic. Very well done.
It's
Awesome
yeah, I
game.
mean it's an incredible remake. I love the original as well because I'm way too old and I still remember playing all them as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed the remake and how they did it, and to me that's how a remake should be done.
Yeah.
But
No,
again, I won't talk off about Resident Evil.
I completely concur with that. Well, that's good to hear. I was more back in the day. I was more of a Silent Hill guy,
Mm.
so I never got around to kind of the original Resident Evil games. And as I've confessed previously on the show, I've not played Resident Evil 4.
Yes,
So
I
that
was listening to a podcast earlier on and I heard you say that. I was like, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
I know because that's hailed as like the greatest, and I understand that, and I do have it like the I think the modern port for PlayStation 4. I've got
Yeah.
that. It's in the backlog,
Yeah.
and I do want to play it at some point. So it's on my to do list, especially before the remake comes out,
I was going
because
to
I
say, I'll
know
definitely start at least do the first couple of hours, maybe just so you can compare before you play the new one.
exactly, yeah. So that's definitely something I want to do. But really, I would say the first like full Resident Evil game I played was probably number 7, Resident Evil 7.
That's a good starting
Like
point.
all the way through, which yeah, that was fantastic and actually terrifying at certain moments.
Yeah.
But that
And
game was awesome.
that was the one that sort of brought it back for me because up until 4 obviously was awesome. 5 let me down a bit, and 6 was, we don't need to get into it, but it was dreadful basically. And then
Yeah, I
when
think
by
that's
the
the
time I bought
consensus.
7 back round, that was right. We're back onto something, a winner here. And I love the first person perspective and the
Yeah.
more horror focus rather than massive explosions and action everywhere and everything.
Yes. Yeah, I totally concur. Yeah. In I did you ever play it in VR? I don't know if you dabble in that at all, but did you ever try
I
that?
did actually. I specifically bought PSVR so I could eventually play Resident Evil 7 in it. I
Okay.
eventually bought Resident Evil 7, but I played maybe 45 minutes before I ended up selling my PSVR. So
Okay.
yeah, I would like to give it a try, but I'm quite looking forward to trying Village on the PSVR too at some point in the
Yes.
future.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's certain moments in number 7, like especially I think it's fairly towards the beginning, like where you get your hand cut off. I think is what it is in number 7, where that when
Yeah,
like she's attacking you.
yeah, with
Like
the
I just
chainsaw
couldn't.
and stuff. Yeah,
Yes, I could not imagine doing that in VR. Like that just looks terrifying. I would
yeah.
probably,
It
yeah,
it was
that,
it was it was a very different experience to playing on a flat screen. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I also tend to get a little motion sickness with some of the VR games. So I'm kind of iffy on which ones I want to dive into, and so I wasn't sure if I would sit well with that one.
Yeah, no, I must admit, ones where you get to use something like the Move controls or on the Oculus where you've got the actual hand controllers are much more enjoyable, I think, and much less, I should say, likely to give me personally motion sickness because you're a bit more in control. We're just sitting
Yeah,
there with a controller in your hand, like you said, with a dual shock, and you
yeah,
sort of flicking the stick to go forward while you're sitting still. And yeah, that was another reason I never really got much further than I did before I ended up selling it.
yeah. That totally makes sense. What do you think of Resident Evil 8?
I didn't enjoy it as much as 7, but I did
Okay.
still enjoy it quite a lot. I think the ending, or like the last section in Heisenberg's factory and stuff, was a bit of a slog. But
Yeah.
up until then, obviously, Benevito, I always can never pronounce it. Benevito's mansion, like the real creepy bit with the baby chasing you around.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that was what I wanted out of a full game, which is why I like Resident Evil 7, because that was kind of what that was throughout pretty much the entire game. Whereas this, it was
Yes.
just that one bit, and then you're back into a bit more action, which I still enjoyed, but not as much as the slower pace of 7.
Yeah, yeah. I thought actually I would say probably Resident Evil 8 was my game of the year last year if I got to be honest out of all the games I played, but just because it was one of those games I couldn't put it down.
Mm,
I hear you on some of the like the Heisenberg section towards the end and kind of the conclusion of it. I'm totally with you on that.
yeah,
But yeah, that house section with the baby and then the castle and just the setting itself, I really enjoyed the setting, and I don't know. I thought it was a great game. And I forget his name, the big kind of fat character that sells you stuff. He
oh,
was
the
awesome.
the merchant, yeah, he was good.
Yeah, just kind of
And
pops up every now and then, helps you
yeah,
out.
see, a lot of people made the comparison, but like the merchant for that and very uh, similar to Resident Evil 4, and the whole setting and the style was very similar to Resident Evil 4. So if you enjoyed Village,
Yeah,
you definitely want to check out Resident Evil 4 again. Although they're different gameplay perspective and styles,
yeah.
I think if you enjoyed Village, you're definitely gonna love 4.
Okay, cool, good to know. And I think I know there's DLC for Resident Evil Village coming out. I want to say next month in October, and that they're doing a that's in third person, so that'll be interesting. I
Yes,
definitely want to
yeah,
check that out.
because they're also adding in third person to the main game as well.
Yeah,
So now you can play through the whole thing from behind Ethan Winter's head rather than through his eyes, which will be
yeah,
interesting. But I'm looking forward to. I think it's towards the end of the month. I think the DLC is
I
coming,
think
so
so. Yeah.
definitely be playing that.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. It's been a while, so I'm excited and perfect for like that kind of Halloween October timeframe. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Um, cool. Well, now before we get into more Xbox centric and get dive into some of these Xbox topics, I always like to do a section of what games we're playing. Now we kind of already touched on this with some of the games you had been playing, some of the indie ones, but is there any games like what were you going to play tonight, or like what are you playing right now currently?
Well, there's a couple of games that I'm not allowed to tell you yet, so I'll skip
Fair
over them
enough.
ones. But I have been playing. I went back to my Switch recently to play a game called Inside. Have you played that before?
Yes, I actually played that on the Xbox back in the day, but yeah,
Mm.
fantastic game.
Yeah, I played it way back when it came out, and it was on sale for like £1 on the Switch recently. So I picked it up, and I thought I was just sitting there one day, and my wife was watching TV. The kids were off playing, and I thought, you know what, I'll pick it up. I'll just have a quick see what it looks like on the Switch. I
Yeah.
end up sitting there playing from start to finish. It's just such a great, like, perfectly crafted platformer. Like, there's no
Yep.
dead weight, as it were. Even though in the game, if you haven't played it, everything's basically dead. But in terms of the gameplay, everything's there for a reason. And even though it's fairly linear, obviously being a side scrolling 2D platformer, it still makes you feel like you've got that good amount of challenge without being either too hard or too easy.
Yeah.
Like there's one bit where you got to jump. I don't know if you remember. You got to jump over the fence, and there's dogs chasing you, and they sort of run round, and you have to pull the planks off a door before you have to jump back over the fence. And there's always just that fraction of time where you've got to beat the dogs, and even though there's only one way to do it, you still feel like you really outsmarted them, even though you had to do it that way. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just I love those sort of weird macabre like visuals and style, and especially towards the end with the big gelatinous monster that's rolling around. Oh, it's just brilliant. Like I said, I only wanted to play it for a little bit to see what it looked like on a. I just sat there for like 2 hours from start to finish, and I
Yes.
could not put it down. Other than that, well, again, that's pretty much it. I think that I'm allowed to talk about at the minute. I'm very fortunate to get games a little bit early sometimes,
Yep.
and that takes up
Okay.
quite a lot of my time. What about yourself? What have you been playing?
I could imagine. Yeah. This past week I haven't had a ton of time. Been busy with, stuff in my personal life, doing stuff around the house and in work and all that stuff. But I've been continuing my playthrough of Nobody Saves the World. I'm doing, playing it on Xbox. It's available through Game Pass. And so I'm about 9 hours in. And have you played the game?
No, I haven't because it's on Game Pass, right?
Yep. It's on Game
Yeah,
Pass. That's
I
right.
know. I haven't had a chance to jump into that one yet.
Okay, it's really cool. So it's done by Drinkbox Studios, who those guys made Guacamelee 1 and 2. And I also think they made that Vita game Severed, like the PlayStation Vita game, which I think
Yes.
got ported elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it's really awesome. So it's kind of it's a dungeon crawler, like an RPG dungeon crawler style game. But the whole shtick of it is that you've got a wand and you can transform into various different kind of characters. You can transform into like a rat. You can transform into like I just unlocked a ghost character and a bodybuilder. So the ghost like uses his like scary aura to like scare enemies, but it also damages them. And then the bodybuilder like he just throws dumbbells at people. Basically, but there's all kinds of different characters you transform into. Each one kind of has its own sets, like unique abilities, and you go and just crawl through these dungeons, and you're eventually collecting like I think these like diamond shards or something that to find some lost wizard or something like that in the game. And but there's tons of other like side dungeons or side quests, and I think one of the things I really like about it is that there's a constant sense of progression, and so each character has their own quests that you can do, like different challenges, like kill them with this ability or this style. And then there's overworld quests, there's dungeon quests, there's tons and tons of side quests, and you're always kind of um, getting experience through these quests and leveling up your character, and as well as your different character forms. So you're constantly progressing, and I love that sense of progression because when a game doesn't kind of give me that satisfaction, I tend to, unless its story is really good, I tend to kind of fall off it or fall away from it. So with this game, it's kind of keeping me in, and just I can sit down even for like an hour and just level up my character, or like go to a dungeon or something, and it's really awesome. So I've been playing that. That's what I've been diving into. I think I'm probably about the halfway point. So I'm getting distracted with side quests and in different dungeons and stuff. So I got to get back to the main story. But I'm looking forward to kind of getting through that one. So that's really the main game I've been playing. Now I
Yeah,
do want to.
sorry. That's I was going to say that's the thing
Yeah.
with games like that, when you're playing and you're sort of getting so sucked into the side stuff. You're like, I really should get on with it, but I just want to just go over here and see what's in this corner, or what this area does, or where this power type. And yeah, that sounds like something I would probably have to avoid, because otherwise I'd be stuck like you. Like, I just want to do everything before I move on.
Yes, yeah. That's why I'm so hesitant on some open world games, because
Mm.
I know I'm going to get distracted with a bunch of side stuff, and I have I guess I have like FOMO, fear of missing out. Like I don't want to miss something that's really cool, or something like that. Like I want to see everything when I'm playing a game, and so sometimes it's for the worse, because I'll do so much time doing all these side quests that by the time I go back to the regular quest, I'm like overpowered, or I start to
Yeah.
lose interest because the side quests get repetitive. So I don't know. It's a catch 22, I guess.
I did. If you don't mind, if we've got time, I did
Yeah,
remember one other game that I did want to talk to you about, because again, I was listening
absolutely.
to one of your podcasts earlier on where you're talking about it, The Last of Us Part One.
Okay. Oh,
I
the PS5
am,
one.
yeah, I am a massive, massive Last of Us fan. And I was listening to you. I forget his name. Was it Lord of Cotton that you had on?
Oh, Legend. Yeah, Legend of Cotton.
Sorry,
Yep.
Legend of Cotton. Yeah. And you were talking about like the price point, because this was before it come out, obviously, and
Yeah.
whether you were interested in picking it up. And I must admit to you and to people listening, I am the problem with why this was released as it was, because not only did I pay full price for it, I actually bought my PS5 so I could pay full price for The Last of Us Part One, because I love that, game. And even though I've already got it on PS3, and I did buy it on PS4, but that not until after Part Two came out, and I only played the
Okay.
DLC. I didn't actually play the full campaign again. Um,
Yeah.
and I bought a digital PS5. Decided that was a stupid idea, because I've got Last of Us Part Two on disc and I wouldn't be able to use it. So I sold that and bought a disc version PS5, just so I could play a remake of a game I already own.
Yep.
So yeah, so I must apologise. They entirely got me. But I have you. I think you've played it by this point, the
I,
remake, or
I've
have you?
I've not played the remake at this point.
Okay.
I want to get it at some point, but like you, I'm a huge Last of Us fan. The I got it day one. I think when it came out on the PS3, was blown away by it. It's definitely like one of my top 5 games of all time, I would
Yeah.
say. And got the remaster, a year later when it came out in 2014. And I really liked the factions portion of that, like the multiplayer portion. Like I don't play a ton of multiplayer games these days, but I would absolutely go back and play factions. Like it was just so much fun. It was a very unique take on multiplayer.
Mm.
And then obviously I played Last of Us 2. I got the big collector's edition, and all that. So I'm kind of mixed on that game. I don't know if it's a game I would ever go back to, because it it's so it's so emotional, and
It
it's
really
like
is.
kind of depressing at some points. And so it's one of those. There were moments in The Last of Us Part 2 where I was like, this is hard to play. Like
Yeah.
I just
I,
yeah,
I,
but
I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone, if in case they haven't played it, but
yeah,
the scene, like the early scene that you'll know
yep,
what I'm on about. Um, I had to put the controller in. I was literally shaking. I was like, no, 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 no.
yeah.
And I went. I got a drink. I went to talk to my wife for a minute, and I tried to explain to her, and she was like, "What are you on about?" I was like, "But you don't understand. It's so sad." And again, that both of them to sort of together, I would class as one of my favorite series of all time as well. But yeah, I couldn't not play the first one again. And I've only just got to Tommy, so I'm not
Okay,
especially far in.
yeah,
Um, but again, sort of working it around other stuff, and life and kids and family and stuff.
yep,
I love playing it. I think it's tremendous, and I think even though it's only really a graphical upgrade, I think for someone like me, I was more than happy to, well, I mean, buy a PS5 and the game at whatever price, and
yeah,
I'm getting more than my money's worth out of it, as far as I'm concerned. But I understand why people would be upset, because, like you guys were saying, it is effectively a game you can already buy on the PS5, the PS4 version. But
yeah,
if you're not bothered about an upgrade, you could just play it on PS Plus, whatever it's called now, or if you
yep.
want to shine in the graphics, stump up a few quid. But yeah, I think it's tremendous, and I would highly recommend anyone play it if they haven't done already.
Yeah, I would definitely be willing to pick it up at some point. I'm actually, for the holidays, if it goes on sale, I'm like, might pick it up now. And just because one of the reasons I didn't get it right away is in, and I would, but there's just so many other things for me that I want to play right now. It's like even if I get it now, I'm not going to get to it. So it's like I can just wait.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
that's kind of where I was sitting.
I must admit, I made that terrible mistake because I only bought Deathloop like 2 weeks before as well. So
Oh,
I got a few hours into that, and then this come out, so I haven't even got attempted to go back to Deathloop yet. And now
yeah,
it's on Game Pass, so I didn't even need to buy it. But
yep,
um, yeah, I'll get to it at some point.
yeah, yeah. Deathloop, because I got that day one, I think for PS5, and I look like it took me a while to get into Deathloop, but
Mm.
after a while, I really enjoyed looking back. Like I really enjoyed my time with that game.
Yeah,
So
I've been enjoying it. I really like Dishonored and Dishonored 2.
yep,
And like you said, I found Deathloop a little bit hard to get into to start with because I prefer the ones where you don't have to kill anyone. Whereas obviously this is all about killing people to reset the
yeah,
loop and stuff. But
yep,
as I started to get into it and killing the actual visionaries and getting their powers and stuff, as some of that arcane magic started to come back, and I was started to get really
yes.
into it. And then I was like, oh, I'll just play this remake of this game I've already played 3 times.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Now, there's actually, it's funny because one of the games I'm thinking about jumping into, speaking of open world games, as we touched on that, is Cyberpunk 2077. Just because that game is like blown up again because they got that new anime on Netflix, which is really popular. I haven't checked that out yet. And then, I mean, the game seems to be in a much more stable state than when it released. You know, with all the updates and stuff like that. So I've been watching some gameplay of people playing it on Twitch and stuff, and I'm like, I think I would like this. I'm kind of getting the itch to jump back in. Did you ever play Cyberpunk?
I did actually, yeah, at launch.
Okay.
One of the guys on the site again was lucky enough to get to review it, so
Okay.
I managed to sort of borrow his copy, as it were, and play it. And I enjoyed it, but not.
Okay.
I wouldn't, like you were saying with like some of like Last of Us. I'm in no rush to go back to it, even with all the updates and the DLC and stuff that's coming at some point in the future. I got what I wanted out of it,
Yeah.
and it was good, not great as far as I'm concerned, and that was the end of it. Really, I haven't even thought about it really since I played it. I
Okay.
do want to watch the Netflix anime though, because as you said, it's reportedly very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So
Mm,
I was watching the trailer and like, I don't really know what's going on, but you know, I think it's like 30-minute episodes. So I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's not too bad. Maybe I'll check it out.
yeah. I add it to the list of things to do in all of the time that we've all got.
I know it's ridiculous. There's so many shows, and I mean, speaking of shows, you got the HBO Last of Us show. Did you
Oh
see the
yes.
trailer? They dropped that.
Yeah, I've only watched it about 15 times. It looks great, doesn't it? I mean, I
Oh
want to see
yes,
proper. Obviously, I want to see the episodes, but I want to see a proper trailer with Joel and Ellie talking and
yeah,
see like a recognizable scene from the game, see how they compare type thing. But yeah, so far so
yes,
good.
yeah. I watched it and was like, this is very promising. Like,
Mm,
because you know, sometimes when they do these video game adaptations to movies or shows, like Uncharted, though I haven't seen the Uncharted movie, still haven't watched that yet. But like you just see red flags and you're like, this isn't it, you know.
yeah,
And but this one, I don't know. I'm just saying this looks very very good, and I think Pedro Pascal, the who plays Joel, I think that's a pretty good casting. And that one line I heard from that, I think they did like a quick snippet on one of the other like HBO things that I saw on Twitter. I was like,
yeah,
that sounds pretty good. And then Ellie, I loved her from Game of Thrones, the actress. I forget her name,
yeah.
but
Is it Bella
she seems really
Ramsey,
good.
right?
Bella. Oh yes, yes, yeah. You're right.
Yeah, because she's
Yeah.
actually she's my kids love this program called Worst Witch, which is like a British kids like comedy sitcom drama type thing.
Okay.
And she is the main character in that when she was obviously much younger. And so I
Oh.
started watching it, and my kid happened to walk in. She went, why's the Worst Witch on?" I was like, "Don't watch the rest of the trailer. Turn it off." So you don't want to see the rest of it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's
It
awesome.
it looks it looks very good. I just want a proper release date now, not just 2023. It's a long time.
I know. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that it's gonna coincide with the Last of Us factions that
Yeah.
Naughty Dog's working on, which I'm very much looking forward to that because I think it's gonna be much bigger than just like a multiplayer suite. I think it's gonna be single player elements in there. It sounds like it's probably gonna be this huge live service game, but I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, I'm not generally a big like when I play PlayStation, I play single player. But
Yep.
obviously, Last of Us, as we've discussed over the last 5 6 minutes, love it. So definitely be checking this one out.
Yeah, for sure. Now, there's two other games, or actually another one I was thinking about that. Speaking, we talked about Switch a little bit. Is Shovel Knight Dig? Do you ever play the Shovel Knight games?
You know what? I don't think I've ever played a Shovel Knight. I think a couple of my mates, again on the Tavern, I think they've played some
Yeah.
when I think there was a collection of them ported to the Xbox last year or the year before. Excuse
Yep.
me. But yeah, no, I've never picked them up. Is this the latest one? Is it Shovel Knight Diggle?
Yeah, so it's their new one. I think it's a roguelite,
Okay.
and you play as Shovel Knight. I think you fight various bosses and stuff like that. But I don't know the trailer. I've seen the trailer pop up on Twitter and stuff, and I was like, this looks great. I kind of got it confused initially with their other release earlier this year, which was Shovel Knight, like Pocket something. It was like their puzzle game,
Okay.
and I thought it was the same thing, but it's not. This is clearly like it's only like almost like a spiritual successor to the original Shovel Knight game, which that is fantastic. I would highly recommend that, especially if you hail from some of the earlier like 2D platformer games. Like this should be right up your alley because it's a very faithful rendition of those style of games, but obviously modernized a
Yeah.
bit. So
I
they're
mean,
fantastic.
you've definitely caught me there because that's exactly what I grew up on. So yeah, I'll have to
Yeah,
definitely add it to the list of things of all the
yeah.
time
The
I've got.
never ending backlog.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's jump to Xbox and kind of some of the questions I had here. But I know we meant to record last week. That was our original plan. But I know you had to go to EGX, which I think is European Gaming Expo. Is that right?
It's the I think it stands for Eurogamer Game Expo. But yeah, it
Okay.
used to be the Eurogamer show, which
Okay.
was in London, and then they rebranded and partnered up with Reed Pop and stuff, and now it's just called EGX. But yeah,
Okay. Cool. I think Reed Pop actually does PAX
they
over
do.
here
Yeah,
in the
they do
state.
PAX,
Okay.
and I think they're helping out with E3 as well now.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. They need the help, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. So, as someone from the state, I don't know too much about EGX. So, can you tell me a little about what the show is, and then like what games did you play, or and did anything stand out?
So the show itself is over 3 or 4 days. I think this year was 4 days, and it's a mix of new games, old games, a big section for indie games, a load of retro stuff, as well as various shops and merchants selling toys and clothes and games and trinkets and stuff. It used to be, like I said, when we first started going, it was huge. It would fill up this Excel center, I should say. There'd be hundreds of games playing. This it's obviously been a bit smaller since the pandemic, or
Yeah.
wiped that sort of side of things out.
Yeah.
Last year's one was the first one back after a couple of years, and it was it wasn't very good, to put it bluntly. It was missing a lot. This
Okay.
year's was a lot better, but it still wasn't quite up where we'd like it to be. There was a lot more games here, but there was also a lot more dead space that still could have been filled. But we did get to play Sonic Frontiers,
Oh,
which I
nice.
enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would. I'm a massive Sonic fan, and I've been watching like IGN First and stuff where they've been previewing it and stuff, and it was like, I'm not really. I think we could be onto another stinker here because you know how Sonic goes. You get one good one and then about 15 rubbish ones, and then one barely decent one. But from what I played, I'm much more excited now. The actual open world was a bit lifeless. There was no music. There was no real excitement. But when you got into the actual levels, I've it was over in a flash, obviously. But
Mhm.
I thought that was excellent, and I just wanted to play it again. But the queue was way too long, so I didn't want to go around again. Um,
Yeah.
and what else did we play? I played a game called Deceive Inc., which is like a social deduction uh, heist game, kind of something similar to like Among Us,
Okay.
where you've got to break into a bank vault, but you and all the other players look like all the NPCs in the level, and so you have to try and stay sort of hidden in plain sight while you're also trying to crack open doors and find keys and potentially kill the other players as well.
Huh.
And that was good. The demo they had only gave people one life, so if you died quickly, you end up sitting there for about 15 minutes waiting for everyone else to finish. Um,
Yeah.
but it was a good demo. I think they're doing a technical preview in a few hours, I think, on
Oh,
Steam, which people can sign up for. But yeah, those were the two main ones. I did check out the Steam Deck. I don't know if you had a chance to get hands on with one of them yet.
I haven't. No.
Um, I,
I've
I
seen it, but
I was not bothered at all by it. However, now I come home and I'm sort of scouring the bank balance and be like, well, if we don't eat for this day and this day, maybe we could. It was very good. It was very good.
was it?
Very, yeah, yeah. It was a lot better than I expected. And if it wasn't so expensive, I probably would have ordered one and got it delivered
Yeah.
in like 2 years. But yeah, they were the main highlights really. We played
Okay.
we played plenty of other games, but
Yeah.
nothing particularly stand out other than them. But
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
hopefully it's coming back next year. I think it's October 15th or something like that. So we're
Okay.
definitely going to go back and hopefully it'll be a bit more like its former self again.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I
that sounds exactly like what PAX is over here.
was going to say, do you get
Because
to go to many things like PAX or anything
I've
like
been
that?
to in years past. I've been to PAX West, is because that's the closest one to me that doesn't require too much travel.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like 4 hours away, give or take.
Okay.
I can just drive there and then stay up there in Seattle. And so I've been to that. I think I went in 2014, 2016, 2017. I haven't been back since. But family kind of got in the way of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, you know, but it was awesome. Like PAX is a really good, well, I should say family in the pandemic.
Yeah.
But PAX it has that big focus on indie games because I think it started as the Penny Arcade Expo is what it stands for.
Yeah.
And it started with just a huge focus on indie games. And then as it got bigger, like you'd see like Ubisoft would show up, PlayStation, Xbox, like all the big, devs and publishers would show up, and it got huge. And so like in my times that I've been there, it was, I played awesome indie games like Death's Gambit, which is like a 2D Souls-like game, which I really love that. I played, I think, Far Cry 5 when that was coming out. I remember the first time I went there, like Bloodborne was there, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So just these tons of awesome games that were there, and I actually think Bethesda would even show up. Like it got really big, but it was so much fun, and I love the focus on indies because at the convention center for PAX West, like the whole top floor is it's all indies, and so there's tons of different booths and different games you can go up to. So it's always a good time to check that out. So
And
yeah, that's awesome.
that's what I like about events. So that way you go, and although you might have like the big, AAA, like
Yep.
for example at EGX there was the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer demo or beta thing
Okay.
you could queue up and play. But
Yeah.
I'm far more interested in going and well, I've never heard of this game. Let's play this, or that looks a bit
Yep.
weird. I'll give that a try. And that's what I enjoy. So that's what I'm hoping they bring back next year, and then hopefully, like you say, if you go back to PAX or stuff, they keep bringing more stuff like that and
Yeah.
sort of shine a light on the things that don't necessarily get covered by IGN and Kotaku and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And well, in at least, at PAX, like the lines were much shorter for those indie games. So you could play like five of those by the time you even get like move 10 feet in one of the big lines.
So it's like a win-win situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. Glad you guys had a good time, and I'm sure you've got some coverage on the website too for some of the games. I would imagine maybe.
Yes, I've written up an article on my thoughts on the actual show itself, and I've trying to find a time to actually write out my proper opinions on Sonic, which hopefully I'll get to do at some point this week.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm kind of curious how it's gonna review because it seems like a lot of people like it, but I don't know. From what I've seen, like it does seem like the open world is kind of there's nothing really there.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's what we needed. They need to fill that out before,
yeah,
or more than what I played. And if they can do that, I think we're on to at least somewhat of a winner, should we say?
okay, cool. And that's all platforms, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Because I was like, for some reason, I was thinking Switch, but I'm pretty sure it's everything. So cool. Okay, let's dive into Xbox. And the
cool.
first thing I wanted to touch on is kind of the current situation with the big acquisition of Activision Blizzard and kind of the flux state of Call of Duty. So I kind of just want to get like, what's your take on the situation, and how are you feeling about this huge move that's impacting video games as a whole?
I mean, it's like you said, it's massive in it, and it's as we've talked about in the podcast so many times. It seems every week some other news story is coming out where someone's blocking it, or someone's not happy,
Yeah,
or someone else is happy, or some other leaked email is coming out and they're rebutting it and stuff. I think for me personally, I would prefer if everything was everywhere. As I've said to the other lads, several times,
yeah,
it's all well and good them buying Activision. I know they've said they're going to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for X amount of time. I'd rather Call of Duty everywhere, God of War everywhere, Mario everywhere. Just share the
yeah,
love, as it were. But obviously, that's not the world we live in, which is
yep,
a shame. I don't think they would have entered into this if they didn't think they could pull it off. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's a ballsy move, and it's spending that much money to buy what is effectively the biggest game franchise in the world. Um, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the next year, for example, because I mean, it's not going to get done this year, is it? And to see whether there's any more wrinkles of whether Sony have got any more arguments against it, or whether even maybe Nintendo come out and say something against it, or
Yeah.
I don't know, Square Enix or Valve or someone just be like, well, this isn't a very good idea, really. Well, why not? Well, because they're going to make all the money. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we want to make some money. And like, yeah, it's again, it's the way. I'm not a business person in the slightest, so I'm like, oh, I give you money, you give me a thing, yeah, done.
Yeah.
But I would like to see them still keep everything everywhere, and obviously, if we get it in Game Pass, even better. Happy days. That's all I'm really worried about.
Yeah. Yeah. So like when I first heard the news, I mean, obviously it's huge, it's shocking, it's like earthquake shattering, to the
Yeah,
games industry. But yeah, it has been interesting to kind of watch this back and forth between, Xbox and PlayStation. And I also find it maybe even more interesting just to watch kind of the commentary, just like amongst like Twitter, just what people are saying. And, you see the extremes of both sides in terms of like the fanboyism, I guess is the term I'll use. But
that's one way of putting
it's,
it.
it's just, it's fascinating, but also kind of frustrating to
Yeah,
see just the back and forth there. And one of the things I'm with you that I don't want this kind of consolidation of the industry. I want Call of Duty to be everywhere. I think it's in their best interest, financially, for them to be everywhere. Because
yeah,
one of the things I had talked about on one of my previous episodes is I think the sales percentage between console platforms with Xbox and PlayStation is approximately 60-40 in PlayStation's favor. So majority of the people play Call of Duty on PlayStation. And to think about like taking that away, I mean, that's going to negatively impact them from a revenue standpoint. And I don't know if they can make that up on just Xbox alone. So it's really interesting, and I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to play out. But I would much rather just be everywhere. Don't play this game, but I don't know. I'm not confident that that's going to happen.
yeah. I think if it had been happened, say 5 years ago, I think there'd be a bigger cause for concern because Microsoft were obviously a lot more bullish.
Yeah.
And with people like Don, well, not a bit longer than 5 years, but Don Matrick in charge and stuff, I can see them coming in. Right, that's ours now. Sod a lot of you. That we're going to hold this one. But I think Phil has got a bit more wherewithal about him to be like, well, I could do that, but then that's going to cause me a massive headache. So I'm just going to
Yep.
have a small headache and try and be nice to everyone while still sort of making my Microsoft paymasters happier.
Yeah.
He's not the. He doesn't seem like the daftest person. He does seem like he's got a good approach of right. This is for the gamers, as he likes to say, or for the players. But at the end of the day, he's a businessman as well. So I'm sure he's still looking at the numbers, being like, "Well, we can get this amount of money if we do this," and yeah, we'll see. But
Yeah. 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 Phil is definitely much better, I would say, than Don Matrick. I think we all know that, especially after the what was it, the Xbox One reveal. That was pretty disastrous.
I mean, even as an Xbox fan, that was shocking, absolutely shocking.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with Phil though is that I feel like he talks out of both ends of his mouth, meaning like he'll say one thing and then kind of turn around and maybe say another thing, just kind of trying to kind of appease, and it's very business speak, or
Yeah.
corporate speak, if you
Oh yeah,
will.
no, it's definitely gone through the PR people in it. Right, you can only use these 5 words over and over again. Okay, yeah, no problem.
Yes, definitely. Now, it kind of along this lines, one of the notions, and I haven't really talked about this much because I've kind of just been mulling this over in my mind, but I figure let's touch on it. So one of the notions I've been thinking about regarding Xbox and this kind of acquisition strategy, obviously the big one, they've done Bethesda. Next up is Activision Blizzard, and there's talks of something in Japan that's kind of been rumored. I'm sure you've heard about that.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that Xbox's like ultimate goal is to basically kind of buy up developers and publishers, to kind of feed the Game Pass machine and ultimately undercut competition and kind of monopolize them out and kind of
Mm.
destroy them that way, because they can basically buy up these big publishers, buy up the developers, and kind of put games on Game Pass at a much cheaper price, $10,
Yeah.
$15 a month, if you will, to subscribe to the service, as opposed to other developers and publishers like Sony and Nintendo that have to sell their games for $60, $70. And so that kind of puts them, undercuts the competition and puts them out
Yeah.
of business. And in kind of the same way that Amazon has done that in their space, with just about, I mean, you can buy anything on Amazon, and most times it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. That's how they got to where they are, right?
Exactly. And so, with this consolidation of the industry, I think my concern with this is that if that's the end goal and that's kind of the pathway, that it creates less competition in the ecosystem, in which, the quality of things tend to go down when you have less competition. And I feel like it also raises the barrier of entry for smaller, independent developers, because it'll be hard for them to kind of get any, spotlight if they're not on that service,
Mm.
kind of in that ecosystem. So that's kind of my concern. How do you take that? What do you think about that?
Think on that last bit with like indie people sort of coming onto Game Pass, and I think the concern is valid because if you've got Call of Duty, Halo, Gears, Fable, all these sort of Fallout, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls stuff like that coming in, that's already a hell of a lot of time out of the year. And as we discussed earlier on, we haven't got enough time to play the stuff we want to play. Let
Yeah.
alone then you chuck 20 indie games in at the same time. What's going to win out? So I think they need to be careful about balancing it so they don't shove in constant big games. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the idea at the minute is that they don't have any games, which I think is a fair criticism because it's going to take time, obviously. But at the same time, they've got no real big hitter for this year, but well, we're still waiting for release dates properly for their ones for next year. But I think they
Yep.
need to be careful about not overloading it too much that way. In terms of like the consolidation and like the sort of undercutting the competition, I think again, I'm not a businessman in the slightest. My bank balance will attest to that, but I think that they're doing what's almost what's right for the players by being so aggressive and being so, like you said, 15 quid a month. Yeah, you can have all these games,
Hmm.
and hopefully they're kind of forcing other people's hand a little bit in terms of, well, do we need to sell this for 70 quid, or could we perhaps add it to our service and see if we can get some more subscribers that way? Like PlayStation have obviously come out and said that they're not really interested in doing that yet.
Yeah. Like the day and dates you're talking
Yeah.
about, right? Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So something like, I mean, again, for me personally, if they were to shove on Last of Us Part 1 or Factions or God of War or something onto their PlayStation Plus day one, I'd probably subscribe, because I don't subscribe at the minute purely
Hmm.
because I don't have enough time and money. And
Yeah.
it's for me, I don't see anything on that service that would be worth me being, stumping up the cash. Whereas if they were to do that, I would.
Yep.
And although there's the argument of like ownership and you're only renting games and you're not really buying anything anymore, you're just playing it and moving on. I don't think that's a bad thing either, because I've got hundreds of games upstairs that I've collected throughout my life, probably closer to thousands to be honest. But it's I don't ever go back and play them. And a lot of the games I play through
Yeah.
Game Pass are the games that I play, again, I'm very lucky to get through the website and that. I'll play them, I'll review them, or I'll play them for a week or two, whatever. And I don't really go back to them anymore. So I think something like Game Pass is great to play it. That was a good game. All right, let's move on. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it's tricky. I think like you said earlier on, I think we'll have to see how the next couple of years play out in terms of what they add to it and what the rest of the industry does in response, especially if the Activision Blizzard thing does come through and they start chucking in Call of Duty and
Yeah.
Overwatch and well, not Overwatch, but necessarily, but all the other titles that I'm blanking on right now.
Yeah. There's if Activision, they own lots of stuff. Like I was thinking, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, they could throw on there.
Yeah.
I think the Crash Bandicoot games, Spyro. I love Spyro. Like I loved the original Spyro games on PlayStation.
Mm.
Those are awesome, and I hopefully they come back to that franchise, though. Hopefully Microsoft says, "Hey, we see something here," because Activision clearly doesn't.
Yeah,
Because they haven't done it.
anything but Call of Duty would be great.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Though I have to kind of push back just a little bit on the I guess the push towards subscription services and stuff like that, because my because we look at Netflix and Disney Plus as kind of these, I guess, models for the subscription service in terms of like content,
Yeah,
and be able to subscribe and get access to tons of content. And my concern with that in the game space is that if that's how we access these games, let's say we no longer buy games, and we don't. That's just not a thing. Everything's fed through some sort of subscription services. That the quality of those games that are offered and being developed through those services will decline. And I worry about that, because if I look at Disney Plus and like kind of what they've done with the Star Wars and Marvel franchises, is now with Disney Plus, I just, and this is simply how I feel and kind of based on what I see,
yeah.
is that those are just now franchises that are just fodder for content on those services. Like, I don't know how many Marvel shows there are now, but one, I can't keep up, and two, from what I've seen, they don't seem to be that great. And then with Star Wars, which I am a huge Star Wars fan, lifelong Star Wars fan, but not super happy with the way things have been lately.
Yeah.
But I will say I do like The Mandalorian. That's a great series. I don't know if you've watched that, but then like you get the Book of Boba Fett, and that's not that great at all. And then Obi-Wan was, it's definitely a nostalgia hit, and I appreciate that, but still not kind of where I feel like it needs to be. I know there's tons of other stuff that they've announced that are coming on. So I kind of worry about that quality kind of declining, especially if there's less competition in the space.
think I definitely think you're on to something there because, as you said, if they start pumping out, you got Halo 6 or Halo 7 or whatever, and then you got Halo, the story of Marine 1467, and uh, a chess-based Halo game, and all this sort of stuff that like they'll just cram whatever they can cram in. That will be a problem, but
Yeah.
so far, I think they've done a pretty good job of not not rushing stuff out. I know that a lot of the games haven't been the highest reviewed, but I don't think they've
Yep.
also been the worst games, especially not compared to how it used to be before the Game Pass and stuff. With some of the utter guff that they were putting out, just that wasn't getting any traction at all. And especially
Yeah.
upcoming games like Redfall and Starfield and stuff like that, I think they've got a chance to really show that the service will not only be good value for money, but also give you those huge games that you can get, as well as support it with smaller, not less quality, but lesser in terms of scale and scope and stuff as well. And it's sort of like be a nice happy balance. Like I said, as long as they don't overload it with
Yeah.
too many massive games at once, I think we should be all right. But yeah, no, you're definitely not wrong in terms of worrying about, like you said, with like Disney, where they've taken an IP and right, how much stuff can we get out of this? Right, shove it all out the door. Is it any good? I don't care. Whatever. Just shove it. Just make it look like we're doing something.
Yeah.
But so far, I think touch wood, they've not done too bad a job of balancing it, and hopefully they'll continue to do so.
Yeah. I think next year will be the kind of first signs of because they've got so many studios under their belt on the Xbox side, and
Mm,
a lot of them been kind of churning away at whatever their next game is, and there's kind of a lot in the pipeline, but we just haven't seen it kind of managed and kind of put out
yeah,
properly, and then on a regular cadence. And I think that starts next year, so I'll be kind of curious to see how that goes.
I mean, it should have
Now,
started this year, but
yes,
they
yeah,
obviously they pushed them back, and that again is cause for concern because
hmm,
they set a date for Starfield. They were
yep,
adamant it was coming. They were showing all this pre-release stuff, and oh well, actually, we need to push it back a little bit. But
yep.
we still keep paying this Game Pass subscription though, because it's coming eventually. I promise. Um, so yeah, so they need to stick to that, get that and Redfall out, and then go from there with Forza and new gears and what have you,
Yep.
and show that they can do it actually properly, not just delay games and cancel games all the time.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Now, kind of moving away from acquisition talk, one of the things I've noticed lately, like we talked about Steam Deck, that's a pretty sweet device. But then I just saw, I think in the last week or two, the Logitech's coming out with some handheld that does cloud gaming.
Yeah.
Razer, I think, just announced like a portable cloud gaming device. So like it seems like there's this resurgence of like cloud gaming and in handheld gaming.
Mm.
Um, and I know Xbox is already in this space with XCloud. You can play it on your phone, and I know they just got integration with like like Samsung and their TVs, and I'm sure that's
Yeah.
going to broaden from there. Have you played XCloud, and kind of what do you think of this huge shift to cloud gaming?
When it was first revealed and sort of put out in like early beta, I tried it and I thought it was dreadful. I tried to play Gears, I think it was Gears 5. I tried to play just a single player, and the lag was horrendous. It looked terrible. The artifacting and the stream would cut out, and it was awful. However, in the last probably 6 or 7 months, I played a lot more of it. Probably since they added Fortnite to the service, and I think it's brilliant. I
Okay.
play mostly on my phone. I've got a couple of like the cloud controllers that you can sort of slot your phone into,
Yeah.
um, and if the kids are on the Xbox on the TV, or if I'm just lying in bed and I wake up a bit earlier, I'll just shove a game on. And so far at home, at least on my relatively decent Wi-Fi I've got here, I think it's brilliant, especially if you just want to jump in, have a quick game of Fortnite, or when Hades was on there, that was another big one I was playing quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because even though it's obviously quite fast paced, it's not so much so that you couldn't deal with that ever so slight lag you're still going to get through cloud gaming. And I mean that, in addition to all the games, being able to just instantly start playing anything on Game Pass on your console
Yep.
or on your phone or on your laptop, I think it's brilliant. I've tried out a few games over the last couple of months. Just I don't want to download it. I don't want to spend a couple of hours on it. I'll just hit play. It doesn't look as good because obviously it's only streaming whatever it is, 1080p stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that is going to be just as big a deal for Xbox and Game Pass as bringing out Starfield and Redfall and all these other massive games, because it's going to let people jump in more often, especially like you said, if they're integrating it onto TVs and stuff as well. All you need is a controller, which I'm sure they'll
Yep.
give them away with the TVs, or you buy a subscription, you get a controller free or something. I mean, yeah, I think that's going to be a great way. And unlike the recent closure of Stadia, which I mean surprised literally no one.
Yeah.
xCloud is complementary to console, excuse me, console and PC gaming. It's not the sole way to play. So that's why I think that's going to be a bigger deal. Sorry, because you're not relying on them keeping the servers up so you can play stuff. It's just there if you don't want to download it, or if you're out and about, or if your Xbox is otherwise engaged, you can just have a quick game and not worry about it. Have you checked out much of the cloud gaming on Xbox or any other service?
No, not yet. It's playing a game on my phone, even though it is like an actual, console game, console quality game, just doesn't appeal to me. Though I've kind of been intrigued by it. And I'm sure having like one of those like devices like you were talking about where you can slip your phone in, it's an actual controller would be a much better way to do it. And if I had one of those, I'd probably be more inclined to. But I am intrigued in this space because I do think it's fascinating, and you talked about just the ease of access to it. Your snap in, kind of snap out type of thing I think is really appealing to a lot of folks.
Mm,
And I'm glad to hear that it's improving, because I know, depending on like your Wi-Fi speeds, your download speeds, your upload speeds, all that stuff, and kind of your connection, that you can have a pretty bad experience or a really great experience. And I just know there's pockets of the world, even there's pockets of like here in the US where there's like the speeds just aren't great.
yeah,
And so that's I think a big concern for a lot of folks.
yeah. I think that's not wrong, because where I work, I work away from home,
Yeah.
and the Wi-Fi there, it won't even load a YouTube video, so I can't even dream to play of XCloud. But like I said, when I get home, just chill out on the sofa. I've got 20 minutes to kill before we have to do something. I just,
Yeah.
just turn it on instantly. I mean, the games load up within 4 or 5 seconds normally, and also because it syncs with your saves on your Xbox as well, you can just pick up where you left off, have a quick game, maybe do a level or two, or complete a few quests or challenges or side missions like we were saying about earlier on. Turn it off, go
Yeah.
back to your console later that evening, and your save just carries on as if you were playing in one place the entire time, which I think is another great aspect of it, because again, you could be anywhere and just pick up where you left off. There's no, I haven't got my save, I've got to start again. I'm not doing that. It just works, and it works almost without you having to try, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's no remembering to upload cloud saves, or make sure your console's on so you can sync things. It's just there
Yeah.
and you just play.
Yeah, that's really appealing, and just the user friendly nature of it sounds really. really awesome. Just because I think that's one of the things that Xbox does pretty well, especially like on their back end stuff. I mean, it makes
Mm.
sense because they have all that Azure cloud technology and just the whole Microsoft side of it totally makes sense to back that up. So that's really cool. We could touch on a little bit with the TV stuff, and I think that's going to be really interesting to watch play out because I think that brings a whole new market of folks to be able to get into video games and kind of get into this integrated into this ecosystem because I know I think there was like a kind of like a one of those like a Roku stick but for Xbox where you can kind of just stick into your TV. I mean like if
Yeah,
they dial that in and you can just get a little stick for I don't know, probably like $50 or and it comes with a controller or something. I mean it's like a no-brainer at this
yeah.
point. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, even as someone who's got a Series X and an S, and like I said, the ability to play on the cloud already, if
Yeah.
they were to bring a dongle and a controller and stuff, I'd probably consider it just for maybe the kids' bedroom or the spare room
Yeah.
or something. Just so I haven't got to buy them a whole console. I can just here you go, and you've got a massive library of games, and they mainly play things like Minecraft and The Sims, which are on Game Pass anyway. So that would be
Yep.
perfect for them.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Now, let's talk about 2022, the rest of 2022. We touched about that a little bit in terms of like obviously the big delays with Starfield, Redfall. And so kind of as a Xbox centric fan, like how are you feeling about 2022 given where we are up until now and the rest of 2022 in terms of, upcoming games and releases for the service?
It's disappointing. I mean, some of the other lads on the site are much more excited about Starfield than I was. I really like Bethesda's games, but Redfall was the one that I was really hankering for, as we talked about with like Deathloop and Dishonored and stuff. So I'm disappointed that we're going to have to wait until next year. Although, I mean, as we alluded to, there's too many games as it is. I haven't got enough time to be playing it and stuff that isn't even out yet. Um, but I think it looks bad on one hand because obviously you got things like God of War coming out for PlayStation, and um, on the Xbox side, you've got a lot of big games, but nothing that's you can only play there or that is sort of signals like this is Xbox's big Christmas or end of year release. Huzzah! Um, but at the same time, as we alluded to already as well, there's so many other great games, either cross-platform or exclusive games that are coming out that will fill that void. I think if people just are just willing to give it a chance.
Yeah.
There's one game coming out soon which is called The Last Hero of Nostalgia or Nostalgia or something. It's like a Souls-like game, but um, in the style of Stanley Parables. It's very funny and very witty, but also quite hard combat. And I played that earlier this year at another event we went to, and I think it's only on Xbox and PC, but it's tremendous. And if people enjoy like Elden Ring and stuff, and they want something perhaps a little bit like bit more light-hearted, that would be one that I think would do a decent job of filling that gap of the big triple A's, as it were.
Yeah.
Even though it's a smaller, more independent game, it's still gonna, I think, scratch a lot of itches that people are looking for. But it would be nice to have something that Phil could come out and be like, "This is our massive game. Here's Gears of War 6 or something like that." But I'm happy to wait until they're all ready.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. Whether Starfield actually comes out in early 2023 or gets pushed back to the end of next year.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, I I'm kind of with you in that this for Xbox in terms of like first and second parties, it is a little disappointing, and I do kind of feel like there's definitely a gap there, especially once Starfield and Redfall kind of moved out of 2022. So
Yeah.
there's clear like chasm openness that's like okay, what's going to fill that void? And I don't think it ever got filled. There's still there. I mean, there's obviously lots of great games coming to Game Pass, the service, and there's plenty of other third party games that are coming too. So I think there's a lot to be excited for as a gamer for the rest of the year. I mean, I actually made a list of like, okay, here's all the games that I'm interested in are coming out, and I was like, there's like 10 or 12 games. Like, wow, there's still a lot coming out that I'm really stoked about. But yeah,
Has anyone invented another day of the week yet that we could use? Or
man,
that would be handy if they could, or two.
yeah, or a day where like I can just not have to do anything and just focus on playing games and
Oh, to have
you
them
know
days again,
definitely
eh?
I miss the time frame. Yeah, yeah. So along that line, What's your most anticipated game for the rest of 2022? Like, what are you looking forward to playing the most?
That's a very good question. I tend to look ahead by about a month because of
Okay.
what we do on the website.
Yeah.
I try not to get too far ahead of myself, otherwise I'll go crazy. But they're actually coming out in what, a couple of weeks. Plague Tale Requiem. Have you played the first one of that?
Oh, I actually recently played the first one. I would say in the last couple months.
Yeah,
So I played through that.
likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually one of the games I was playing mostly on the cloud, and then
Okay.
I sort of finished it up on the console and stuff. And I really enjoyed it. I thought the stealth parts were a bit too linear. Like they could have given you a bit more freedom to solve like each area in your own way. But
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see how this sequel carries on the story and how it
Yeah.
expands on the gameplay with the different rats and stuff. What did you enjoy it at all?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I liked the stealth elements. I think one of the things I liked about it is you kind of enter in an area, and then at least it felt like for me when I was playing it, I could kind of go a couple different ways to kind of tackle it.
Yeah,
Either distract them this way, or just try to sneak by him, or there was kind of a few things at your fingertips to try to get through certain areas, and I enjoyed that puzzle challenge of it, if you will.
yeah.
But I think my biggest criticism of it was that the combat sections, like it just was really like the aiming just kind of felt off, and it just
Mm.
was not its strong suit when you had to like actually take down enemies. So I'm curious to see if that gets improved in the sequel. Like, did they make combat sections like smooth? Did they smooth it out and make it better?
Yeah, I think as well. Once you got to a certain point with the slingshot that Amicia had, it
Yeah,
almost become like almost like a shooting gallery. Like they'd run towards you, and you almost couldn't miss them, even though, like you
exactly.
said, the aiming was a bit naff.
Yeah,
As soon as you got that one sort of upgrade, it was like, well, knock you down, knock you down, knock you. All right, well, this is boring now. Let's give me a challenge. Um, there's one other game that I want to give a shout out. I don't know if you're a big horror fan at all.
a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, I suppose
survival horror.
Silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, survival. Yeah. What about the Dark Pictures games? Have you checked them out yet?
I haven't played any of those games. I've played Until Dawn, which is the same developer,
Yeah,
and that was their smash hit. Like that was a total surprise hit on PS5, and that game was phenomenal. I absolutely
yeah,
love that.
yeah. It really was. Yeah.
So I know they got they're continuing those, and I know they put out also, which was actually used to be, it was going to be a Stadia exclusive, The Quarry. Did you play that one?
You know what? I wanted to play it, and
Yeah.
I've managed to. I borrowed again, one of the guys on the site reviewed it, so I borrowed his copy, and I played the first chapter or two, and it just did not grab me, despite the fact that I loved Until Dawn. I loved the first three Dark Pictures. The
Okay.
Quarry there was something about it that just I couldn't find myself getting invested. I'll definitely go back to it at some point, but
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't quite get on with that one. Have you
Okay.
played much of that one or?
I haven't played that one yet. It's on my to play list. So I do want to get it here at some point and play it because I am a big fan, and it does seem like it kind of, at least from what I've seen of trailers and stuff like that, it seems like it's more like Until Dawn than maybe the Dark Pictures games are.
Hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. But I think I have two of the Dark Pictures games. I think from like PlayStation Plus or something like that. I
Yeah,
think
I
they
think
gave
they've
at least
given it.
one of those away. So I would like to try them out just to see like would I like these games. And I've heard the third one. I forget what is that, the House of Ashes.
House of
I think
Ashes,
that's
yeah.
what I've heard. That one is actually like the best of the ones that have come out so far.
Yeah, so I've played all three so far.
Hmm.
Little Hope is definitely the weakest by far, but I think
Okay.
personally I enjoyed Man and Medan more because it was shorter. It also had, even though the story got a bit crazy and like there was twists and turns and stuff, the different outcomes that I played it through maybe 4 or 5 times. Um, every single one felt like a proper story, whereas I think in House of Ashes it was still really really good, but it almost felt a bit like I'm going to choose this path this time, and I'm going to choose this path that time, and it didn't quite mesh with an entire story, as it were.
Okay.
But it was still very very good. Definitely better than Little Hope, which I don't really know what happened with that one. They kind of missed the mark completely. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to Devil in Me, which is out
Okay.
at the end of November, I think.
Okay.
That looks like a bit of more of a Saw style horror rather than the teen based horror that it's been for now. And of course, I'm sure you'll join me in this one, Callisto Protocol.
Heck yes. That's
Oh
that's my
yes,
answer. for most anticipated game of 2022. I love Dead Space. Like the Dead Space trilogy, love those games. I think the first Dead Space game is probably one of the best survival horror games ever created. I just think it's
Absolutely.
like near perfect. It's so good. I love everything about that game. And so to see some of those original devs make their own studio and then basically make their own version of Dead Space, yes, sign me up for this game. And like everything I've seen of it, it just looks so good. I love it. I cannot wait for it.
It looks great. Did you watch the story trailer they released yesterday or the day before?
I haven't seen that. No, I will have to check that out.
It's like 2.5 minutes where they sort of give you the background of what's going on.
Okay.
But in that trailer, especially, you can really see the Dead Space DNA sort of coming through,
Yeah.
like the way they explain how to kill the things and the way everything looks. And I forget the guy's name, but he's got like the HUD on his gun and the thing on the back of his neck showing his health. And it's like,
Yep.
yep,
I've
bring
seen
me
that.
some more, bring me some more.
Yeah.
I do have a bone to pick with you though. I listened to a podcast earlier on again, like I said, and you were saying you didn't mind Dead Space 3. We're not allowed to say those sort of things on the internet. We have to just beat it down at every opportunity.
Okay. Well, why? What's the beef?
I just really, really did not enjoy it.
Really?
I thought that, like, much like what Resident Evil did with Resident Evil 6, where they went way too actiony. This one, it
Yeah,
sort of
that's
lost the
fair.
horror, especially in co-op, which I did enjoy playing with my friend because I was playing with my friend. We were having a laugh, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was just too much action, not enough horror like in the original Dead Space, where it was genuinely terrifying most of the time.
Yeah.
And then,
I
yeah, I just, by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, I don't want to touch this again. But I have. I mean, I've played it a couple of times with different people,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
yeah, no.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I get see I understand its criticisms, and I know if I remember correctly at the time that it like even had microtransactions, and that's when like microtransactions were
Yeah,
starting
that
to like
did.
ramp up in games, and I'm like, what is this? Like, why is this is just this does
Yeah,
not fit within this game. It
that
doesn't make
didn't help
sense.
as well because the first person I played it with, he actually spent money on the microtransactions, and I was like, "What
Oh,
are you doing? No, don't do that." And he was like, "No, but look at all this stuff I've got." Yeah, but you don't need it. Don't do it. Let's just play
don't
the
support
game.
this. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but I don't know. I enjoy. I played it solo, and I enjoyed my time with it. But you're right. You're absolutely right that it is more action packed than horror,
Yeah,
and 100% agree with that. Whereas like the first two, especially the first game, was more horror based, survival horror based, and stayed true to the roots. So I'm with you on that. So I think we can find common ground there.
yeah, yes, good. We've come back round. But yeah, definitely Callisto Protocol. Definitely Callisto Protocol.
Yes, I
Looking forward
man,
to shredding some alien net,
or
whatever they're
what
called in this game.
zombie thing? Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever they are. I don't know what they're actually called. But yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
yeah,
So let's look ahead 2023 because for Xbox 2023 is obviously much more optimistic. We have a lot to look forward to. I think as Xbox fans, though I will say Xbox fans might want to check yourself a little bit because this is how we felt going into 2022. So
yeah.
don't count your eggs before they hatch, type of thing.
Yeah, let's
But
wait
how are you
until we're
feeling
there
about
before we get excited.
2020?
I think again, Redfall and Starfield are obviously, assuming they hit the date, well, the time window they've said, are going
Yeah.
to be a great start to the year. And then we've got things like Senua's Saga, which I'm also very much looking forward to, hopefully coming next
Oh
year.
yeah.
And again, they haven't really confirmed much, have they, beyond Redfall and Starfield? Hopefully, are coming out at some point.
Not
But
really.
I'd
Yeah.
like to see more from State of Decay 3, perhaps a teaser New Gears, and of course more
Mhm.
from Fable and Perfect Dark. I doubt we're going to get them next year, but
Yeah.
I'd like to
I don't
see
think so.
them at least give some sort of gameplay demo or video, or even some sort of public demo where people can play it either at
Mhm.
events like EGX or PAX or something, or
Yeah.
even just let the press play it and let them sort of live through them. But they definitely need to come out with something more than just the two games in the first half of the year,
Yeah.
because otherwise we're going to end up having the same conversation at the end of next year where Xbox has got no games. Not yet, they
Yeah.
will, but just wait another year, wait another year, wait another year.
I feel like we've been hearing that for a while.
Yeah,
That seems to be the
that's their
shtick.
problem, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're constantly delaying stuff or cancelling it, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's coming, promise. Just what's that over there? Run away. Yeah, one day, one day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I-
I'm more optimistic that we'll get something decent next year rather than a load of promises that they probably fail to live up to.
Yeah. I do think we'll see Hellblade 2. I have to imagine that game's got to be close. Like, because I know what was, I think the Game Awards last year. I don't know if you tune into that,
Yeah,
but they showed off like a really, I don't know, it was like 5 or 10 minute long demo or something for that. Like the
yeah.
game looks, it's got to be close to being done. So I imagine we're going to see that at some point next year. I'm thinking the second half because at their showcase, like Hellblade 2 was like nowhere to be seen, and that was like the next 12 months. So I imagine the second half of 2023 is when Hellblade will come out.
I would have thought so.
Has to
Yeah,
be.
which I think, although again, it's not the biggest game of what they could
Yeah,
release. I
totally.
still think it's a good. If that was to come out in say July or August, that would be a good kickstart to the end of the year, where then they could bring out State of the Game perhaps, or
Hmm.
again, I doubt they're going to release a new Gears, but maybe a new something Gears related or something just to kick off the sort of onslaught of games they're going to bring out at some point over
Yeah.
the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to just get an update on what's going on with Gears, because I know like with Gears 5, that was what, 2019. I think it's or
Yeah, I
no,
think it's
yeah,
2019. Yeah.
2019. And I liked Gears 5. I think Gears 4 is way better in my opinion.
Whoa,
But
whoa, whoa,
okay,
whoa.
I so with Gears 4, that's Coalition's first go at it.
Mm,
I just thought they did a really nice job at kind of introducing new characters, paying respects to, the original characters from Gears 1 and 3, 1 through 3, I should say,
yeah.
and just delivering a really fun story and kind of set the groundwork for what's going to be in this new trilogy, kind of this story arc.
Mm.
I thought they did a really great job kind of taking that game over from, I forget the original developer, but whereas Gears 5, like, I think her name's Kate, like the main character. I think that's her name.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I get kind of the progression of the story, but I kind of felt like I wasn't the biggest fan of like the open sections. Like I get what they're trying to do,
Oh no,
and
yeah,
it's
they were no good. They were no good.
but it also kind of just felt like, okay, you're just setting up the next game in terms of story. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. That's how I feel about Gears 5.
yeah. I mean, I enjoy Gears 5 a lot more for the gameplay and like the mission parts where you're actually
Yeah.
fighting and working through the levels. Yeah,
Hmm.
like you said, the open world bits were utter guff. They could just go in the bin. We don't need them back. Um, but I think
Yeah.
in terms of like the characters and the story and the gameplay and everything other than the open world stuff, I enjoyed Gears way more. Gears 5, sorry, way more because I played Gears 4, I think when it came out, if not
Hmm.
very shortly after, and for whatever reason, I just could not. Like you were saying, they did a good job setting up the characters and the new sort of cast. I hated every single one of them until I played Gears 5. I could not get on board with it at all.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's not a bad game. Like to play it is good fun. But in
Yeah.
terms of the characters and the story and stuff, I don't think I could have been more disappointed with it at the time when I played it. It might be, maybe if I played it now, I'd have a different tune. But
Yeah.
yeah, when I played it at that time, I could not get on with it at all. But hopefully, Gear 6, we can come back together again. We'll
I,
fusion fingers, be on the same.
yeah. I hope so. Yeah. I would. I because I recently, I want to say in the last, like earlier this summer, I played through the Hive Busters DLC for Gears 5. Like I didn't even know that was like a
Oh yeah,
single player DLC, and so I jumped into that and played through it. It's super short, but I was like, this is fun. Like
yeah,
I want more of this.
yeah. That was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. It was almost like Gears on like a 10 ton of energy drinks condensed into like 2 hours, wasn't it? Just
Yeah.
massive set pieces and combat areas and crazy visual effects, and then it was done, and then that was enough. Excellent. More of that, please.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully we get something on Gear 6, but yeah, 2023. I think there's a few games I'm really looking forward to. So let's start with Starfield. So it sounds like you're not the biggest fan of it compared to some of your colleagues
Yeah,
from this site. But what's your take on Starfield?
I would definitely play it. Obviously, Game Pass. It'd be stupid of me not to.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of game that 10 years ago I would have been all over. Now, because I mean, they were getting excited saying 1,000 planets and build your base and craft resources, and that's like almost 3 sentences that could not have turned me off of a game more. Um, I much prefer something that's about 5 hours long, which I can play, but like, that was good, and then move on. Um, whereas someone like Ross, who is again on our podcast, he lives and dies by massive open world RPGs like Skyrim or The Witcher or Fallout.
Yeah.
And so he's like shaking in his chair, like, let me at it, let me at it. I want to spend my life in it. Um, and I'm sure it'd be good. I'm sure it'd be fine. But personally, I'm not quite as excited as I would have once been for it.
Yeah. I think you and I are like-minded in that sense because finally seeing the gameplay, at the showcase earlier this summer, I thought it looked fine. I there was definitely like some performance issues,
Yeah,
which I think everyone is saw that and it's pretty obvious.
yeah,
I think that there's two main things that I took away from it though that I just can't get over is like one, the inevitable comparisons that this game's going to get to No Man's Sky. I don't know if you ever played that one, but
yeah. Another one
there's
that I would looked at. Nope, not happening.
yeah, like just the crafting and the kind of planet to planet flying spaceships. Like it sounds cool, but then again, like I don't know if this is something I want to spend a ton of time doing.
Yeah,
And then yeah, the thousand planets thing is what really turned me off. Like that's way too much.
yeah,
Like I want to get away from the notion that like bigger and better, like bigger is not better in games. Like I'm with you. Like I would much rather play like a really tight, 5, 10 hour, 5, 12 hour, whatever, very short experience. It's like jam packed and high quality. Whereas like you talk about 1,000 planets, like I can't possibly imagine a situation where each of those 1,000 planets are like handcrafted and worth your time. I just don't think
exactly.
that's possible.
And the other thing is, like, I don't enjoy like MMOs like Warcraft or
Yeah.
any of the other things like that. But if you've got that much real estate and that much stuff to do, you almost need someone else to do it with, or someone else to sort of share it with. Having 1,000 planets in whatever, I mean, solar systems, whatever, on your
Yeah.
own almost seems like, I don't know, like an idea of hell. Like I can do all these things, but who's going to care because it's just me? Um,
Yeah.
so if there was some sort of multiplayer, even if it was just like 4-player co-op where you could go and explore different planets and then come back and share whatever you found, that would be a bit more interesting. But yeah, I explored all 1,000 planets, but no one's here to do it with. Oh, all right.
Yeah, no, I just like what's going to be on these planets? Like cuz I know there's probably going to be, a handful of planets where you play through the main campaign that are actually going to have, colonies or, good points of interest and other people to interact with NPCs and stuff like that, but like that's not going to be on all 1,000 of those planets. So like what's the incentive for me to actually go and explore these planets?
Exactly.
Like
And
I don't know. I need that answered.
people were upset about driving a Mako around a tiny little area of a planet, let alone exploring the entirety of all these thousand. But who knows? We might be
That's so
proven wrong.
true.
It might be incredibly exciting and in depth and fulfilling. But for me, again, personally, I'm not as excited to get into that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, the other one, it sounds like you're much more excited with, which I actually share that with you, is Redfall,
Oh
right?
yes.
What are you excited about Redfall for?
So again, very excited because of Arcane. Dishonored is also. I mean, we're sort of going through my list of best games ever here, but the original Dishonored is definitely in the top 5, and
Okay.
Dishonored 2 is incredible as well. Deathloop again, as we said, struggled to get into it, but I could see the genius there. So having
Yeah.
Redfall be their sort of foray into the co-op aspect, like we were just saying with Starfield,
Yeah.
having 4 players, characters with different powers, which Arcane have proved they're brilliant at doing power based sort of gameplay. So each person's got their own set of skills, but you can use them in whatever way you like to solve the issue at hand, be it a puzzle or combat scenario or something like that. And even though, again, I'm not a massive online player as such these days, this is a
Yeah.
kind of game I think that myself and some of the other guys on the site definitely would, would team up and play once a week or once every couple of weeks or whatever, just to explore and mess around with the powers and mess around with the different characters and especially Ian, like the guy who wrote in earlier on Nutty Ray, we both loved sort of stealth games, so I can imagine us both trying to use as much stealth as possible while also sort of building our character and our power output to make that like the easiest as possible. I'm not really bothered so much about the story. They are what they are in games generally,
Y-
but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to just messing around with the power set and the skills that we'll have at our disposal to yeah have a good time basically.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because when Redfall was first announced, what I think like 2 summers ago now at this point, um, I thought it was going to be something more along the lines like Left 4 Dead, where it's
Yeah,
multiplayer, co-op focused. You kind of just fight waves of vampires and stuff like that, or whatever they are, whatever those
yeah.
creatures are. And I was like, I don't know if that really appeals to me. But then now when we saw it this last summer I'm pretty sure it's open world. I think you can play it single player. So I'm like, okay, I'm coming around to this idea. I think it looked really fun. And like you, I love Arcane Studios. Like the Dishonored franchise, love those games. I think they're all fantastic. I liked Prey. Did you play Prey?
You know what? That's another one I couldn't get into. I think
Okay.
that might be along the lines of Deathloop. Like I played the beginning, and I was, this isn't for me. And at that time,
Yeah.
I just turned it off and went on with about my business. But I would like to get back to it at some point.
Yeah, Prey is probably the my least favorite of their games that have come out, but I it's got that again that arcane brilliance in there in terms of like really being able to kind of tackle something however you see fit. There's really a lot at your fingertips in terms of that sandbox,
Yeah,
and it's kind of got an interesting kind of story in terms of like being on a space station or something like that. And there's these creatures that are kind of going after you and stuff like that. So I thought it was good. And then yeah, Deathloop, we talked about that. I think that game's pretty good, though it can take a while to kind of understand what you're actually trying to do in that game and how it works, because
yeah.
there's a lot to that system. So with Redfall, like I want to see that arcane DNA and how it translates into this game and the various kind of characters you can play. So I'm very much looking forward to that game. I think it's going to be cool.
I'm very, very much excited. I mean, I would hope that it would take a lot for them to mess it up. So
Yes.
even if it's along the lines of meh, it's still going to be my kind of meh rather than I'm not even going to look at this type of game. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully it comes out early next year rather than making us wait until the end of the year or the year after or something like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking in pure speculation here, but I think it'd be a good like June game. Like I'd just kick off the summer. Um,
Mm.
since it's co-op, people will presumably have more free time since it's summer, especially like kids out of school and stuff like that. So I don't know, it just seems like fitting, and I feel like kind of maybe March is a good point for Starfield, assuming they hit those dates. But I don't know, just speculation at that point.
As long as they get Starfield out before Tears of the Kingdom, eh? Otherwise, they got
Yes,
no chance. I'm not touching anything else for a couple of weeks when that comes out.
yes. So regarding that new Zelda game, like what did you think of that? Like because I'm sure you watched it in the latest Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
Being a big Breath of the Wild fan, how are you feeling about that one?
I mean, I don't need to see any more. I was already
Yeah,
going to play it. I think I'm interested to see how they work with the stuff like in the clouds and the sky dungeons and all that sort of stuff, and how they've
yeah,
changed the actual Hyrule overworld because they seem to have got rid of the shrines and things like that. But I mean, I don't think I've played a bad Zelda in the last 20 years. So even
yeah.
if it's not quite up to Breath of the Wild standard, it's still probably going to be, top tier in terms of games of the year for 2023 and probably for the decade.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm looking forward to it. Like you, I don't need to see anything else. I played through when I got my Switch. I got it day one, got Breath of the Wild, and I was obsessed with that game. And this was before I had my son, so like I actually had time to game. And oh man, I probably put 100 plus hours into my playthrough on that, and it's kind of one of those games where like I loved it. It's amazing. I kind of don't want to go back to it because I hold it in such high regard. I kind of don't want to tarnish that experience. Like I'm good. I want to leave it alone.
Yeah,
And I'm also thinking like with this sequel, like I think expectations are so high that I'm curious if it can live up to it. And we kind of see that even this year, like with Horizon. That the Horizon Zero Dawn got a lot of praise, although it was overshadowed by Breath of the Wild.
yeah,
And then for Forbidden West, I got similar praise, but I don't think it met some people's expectations, but was also overshadowed by Elden Ring. And then with God of War, I mean, God of War 2018, everyone loves that game. At least most people do.
yeah,
Got the critical success, but there's a lot riding on the sequel as well. So I'm just kind of curious, can they live up to those expectations?
yeah. It'd be interesting. I'm very keen to see the reviews for God of War.
Yep.
When I bought my PS4 was when the original one come out, um,
Okay.
and I did not like the first trio of God of War games on the PS2 and stuff, but
Oh,
this
okay.
this
Yeah.
sort of remake, it was brilliant, start to
Yeah.
finish. Absolutely loved it. So I would definitely play the what's it called,
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely play it at some point. Again, add some more time into the day, and I'll play it whenever. Um, but yeah, in terms of Zelda, I think it will. Yeah, it's just going to be good. And
Yeah.
if it's not
Well,
good, I'll be very surprised.
same, same. I mean, and that's one of the things I love about Nintendo. I mean, growing up I was a Nintendo kid growing up, so I've definitely got some nostalgia there. But like, I just feel like they have a certain level of quality that they consistently hit with all of their like first party games. That
Absolutely.
it just leaves very little doubt that it's going to be good.
Absolutely. I think my previous game of best game of all time was Ocarina of Time, which I played many times.
Mm. Yep.
Um, but like you, I often think about going back to Breath of the Wild. I was like, should I go and finish off the dungeons or should I start a new game? And I'm like, well, I've already spent 150, 160, whatever hours in it. I think I'll just wait for the new one.
Yeah.
Uh, but in terms of, I know I'm supposed to be here talking about Xbox, but in terms of Nintendo and games for next year, Pikmin 4.
Oh, okay.
Are you
Yeah.
a Pikmin fan?
I've actually never played a Pikmin game.
This is outrageous.
Confession there.
Oh, I absolutely adore. Again, as I said, we're knocking out the top hits right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pikmin series is incredible, and I'm very much looking forward to Pikmin 4. Even that single screenshot they showed at the direct, I was like, yeah, I'm in. I don't want to see any more than that. I'm done.
That's
Give
all
me
you needed.
just give me the game. That's fine. All I needed was a title, and that would do me.
It's yeah, with Pikmin 4 because I remember this game has been long rumored. Like I think it's been people talking about like this game is going to come out for like the last I don't know 3 years. So I'm
Oh yeah.
curious why they haven't shown anything. Like if it actually has been in development for that long, like you'd think the game's got to be pretty darn close. Why didn't they show anything? That's what I'm curious about.
Well, 3 come out with the Wii on the Wii U, and I think 2013, 2014, and then they
Yeah,
re-released it a couple of years ago for the Switch, which I picked up, and it was brilliant. And
yeah,
Miyamoto said at the same time that Pikmin 4 was almost done because by that
yeah.
point it had been like 7 years since Pikmin 3, and now even now, several years on, they've only shown like 1 or 2 screenshots. So, but
I
yeah, no,
know.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I love Pikmin.
Yeah, yeah. That yeah. I maybe I'll give it a try at some point. I just don't know if it's something I can get into, but I know they've got a big fan base out there. So
There is a demo of Pikmin 3 on the Switch eShop, which I
oh,
would
okay.
highly recommend checking out.
Okay, I'm maybe I can do that. See if it's something like a game I would like.
Yeah.
Cool. What? Okay. What about outside of Xbox? Most like, what's your most anticipated game besides? Well, it's Zelda. Are there any other games in 2023 you're looking forward to? We'll just go there. Keep it broad.
I mean, in terms of stuff, I try not to look too far ahead because I try and focus more on
Yeah.
the now, but we're going to have to bring it back to where we started, Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah.
I,
Good choice.
I can't, and to a sort of similar degree, the Dead Space remake.
Yes.
Because even though, again, they're remakes, I'm playing games I've already played before, much like Last of Us Part 1. They're such fond memories of the original games, as well as being just fantastic games in their own right. I can't wait to see how they're sort of reimagined with nice new graphics and gameplay features and possibly story and levels and what have you. But yeah, definitely Resident Evil 4 would be the main one that I'm looking forward to checking out. It is March, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, March
Something like that.
24th, I think is
Yeah.
what it is. So yeah, that'll be here before we know it. Yeah, 6 months away, give or take. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a good pick. Yeah, well, actually, one. So speaking of Dead Space remake, which we're both Dead Space fans here, so we can agree. But I saw that the remake is going to be one shot, like without the load times and stuff like that. So it's similar
Ooh.
to the original, like God 2018 God of War. That's
Yeah.
all done in one shot.
Yes.
This remake's gonna be one shot, and I'm like, okay, that sounds awesome.
Yes, and that's. I think they kind of did that in the original, didn't they? It was almost like the cutscenes would like they would pull the camera out of his head, but there was
Yep.
definitely still loads and cuts and stuff. So that'd be very
Yeah.
interesting if they can pull that off because it worked really well in God of War.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's such a. I think it works really really well. For me, there's so many good like because my last episode I kind of looked at all the major releases in 2023, and there's so many to pick from, and
Yeah.
like some. I'm actually so Forspoken. I'm coming around to this game because I've given this game so much shit, and I feel like rightfully so because the marketing for that game has been atrocious.
I mean,
But
I'm also a fellow Sacred Symbols fan, and I heard the stuff they were chatting about it.
oh yeah, but even just like you watch some of this trailer, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is this?
Yeah,
Like,
it
it's
was.
so
It's.
bad. Did you watch the gameplay trailer for that though? I think it was they did it showed it off at Gamescom. I think is what it was,
I think
or
I
something. It
more
was around that
saw
time.
like the scuttlebutt around it and the chatter and stuff. It's
Yeah,
not the Square Enix style of games like those RPGs and like Japanese. Not my cup of tea at all. So I kind of haven't really
gotcha.
kept up with it. But
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I was gonna
sorry.
say they showed off. I think it was like 10 minutes of gameplay, like actual moment to moment gameplay
Yeah,
of what you'd be doing in this game, rather than the cringy dialogue between the main character. And the gameplay actually looks really fun. So that's kind of what's turning me around to this, and I don't understand why it's taken them so long to show this side of the game. But I don't know. I'm really intrigued on that game. So that's kind of on my list. And then Dead Island 2. I don't know. Are you a Dead Island fan?
mm, no, no. To
Okay.
put it nicely, no. Again, I tried the original.
Yeah.
I think when I played it, it was still early, so it was quite the bugs were still
Buggy.
quite prevalent. And yeah, it didn't never really grabbed me. No.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people kind of in that camp there, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I remember playing, Dead Island on my 360 and just being completely encapsulated with that game. And so Dead Island 2 I know has been in development hell for gosh, like 8 years.
A
So
long time. Yeah.
it's funny because, we talked about PAX earlier. I actually played Dead Island 2 at PAX like in 2017, I think the last time I went there. That's
Already.
how that's how long this game's been in development. Yeah. I played a demo and it wasn't good. The demo I played was not good at all. But from what we've seen, like, because I think they showed it off at Gamescom as well, and I'm like, okay, this actually looks cool. It looks like they've actually cleaned a lot of this up, kind of gotten back to what I think made the original Dead Island good. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to that one as well. But then, I mean, there's so many other games. I mean, You say you're not a big, Square Enix guy, but I know Final Fantasy 16 is coming out. Oh, that game Lies of P, which is coming to Game Pass. That's
Yeah, that seems to
looking
have
real
got
good.
quite a lot of traction. Again, I'm not a big
Yeah.
Souls fan, as it were. I do like
Yeah.
the harder games, but a couple of the guys on the site have already sort of put their word in my ear, but like, I really want to check that one out. It looks awesome.
Yeah, you got to divvy up all the games to all your folks, right?
Basically, yeah. Put the name in the hat. See, yeah.
Yeah, no, that one, yeah, that looks awesome. I know I'm a big Souls guy though. It With Elden Ring, it just didn't capture me the same way the
Oh,
other
really?
game did. Yeah, like I put 40 hours into Elden Ring, and so I played a good chunk of it for sure. But I think what didn't help is coming off of I played Dying Light 2, Horizon Forbidden West, and then Elden Ring, like all those three games kind of back to back to back, which are all like open world RPG games. So I was just like, I needed to cleanse the palate there.
Yeah, you need a nice, calm, chill out game that will last a couple of hours, and then get back into the good stuff.
Exactly. I need those short games, to fill the void because it's too
Exactly.
much. But yeah, there's so many good games coming out. But that's all I got for this episode. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me, have a good conversation about not only Xbox but just video games in general. And I like that I think we have a lot of the same interests.
Yes, yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to you at last. And like I said, we seem to share opinions and games that we enjoy, and even the ones we sort of didn't. It's very civil, which is what I enjoy. That's how it should be. Internet,
Yeah,
listen to
yeah,
us, and how I don't like this game. Okay, why not? Okay, that's fair enough. Let's carry on.
yeah.
Thank you
There,
very much for having me.
of course, yeah. It's okay to disagree. Like I don't understand why some people don't think that that's okay.
Exactly. You don't have to be right all of the time. You're allowed to like things that other people don't like, and vice versa.
Exactly. Actually, one thing I've got to give a shout out to because it's an Xbox exclusive that I'm very much looking forward to, and it's on the smaller scale. You've probably heard of it, The Last Case of Benedict Fox. Have you seen that
Ah,
game?
yes, yes,
That game
indeed.
looks awesome.
It really does. It really does. That is kind of my ideal style of game, like something a bit quirky, a bit maybe a little bit messed up in terms of some of the things that's going on, but also puzzle based, short,
Yeah.
indie, and charming looking. And yeah,
Yep.
I'm very much looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, that one looks so good. I actually was hoping it'd be released this year because like I want to jump into this game like right away. But
Yeah,
I think we gotta wait till at some point unknown in 2023, like
yeah.
everything else.
The occasional times I do scroll through Twitter, I sort of see them pop up with like a development update. I'm like, date? Nah, not yet. Date? Nah, not
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm waiting, but we'll see. I can wait. There's not like there's not other games to play, so
Well, yeah, as we say, yeah, we need some more hours in a day to catch up on our backlog as it is.
exactly. So, Jamie, where can people find you and your website?
Um, Again, thank you very much for having us on. Very much appreciate the chance to come and chat with you. You can follow me personally on Twitter. Not I tweet very much at Enaxan, or you can find us on at Xbox Tavern. You can also go to xboxtavern.com for all of our written stuff, reviews and features and interviews, occasions, stuff like that. And also youtube.com/Xbox Tavern official, where we record our podcast, where we put gameplay videos and reviews up and stuff as well.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that's awesome. So check them out, Xbox Tavern. It's great that you, like I said, it's great you guys focus on the smaller titles and give them a platform to be able to kind of shine. So I really do appreciate that. Question on that though, since you are a Sacred Symbols fan, did you play Super Perils of Baking?
I didn't. One of the guys on the site reviewed it. I
Okay.
was looking to do it, but
Yeah.
he sort of put the request in, so I thought I'd give it up. But I did enjoy Hebroxia 2 and was it Twin Breaker it's called?
Twin Breakers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I did
Yep.
enjoy both of them very much.
Yeah, I played Twin Breakers. I played the first Hebroxia. I haven't played 2 yet, but I've got it on my wish list to pick up Super Perils of Baking because I mean it brings it back to that classic, 2D platformer we've talked about. So I really want
Yeah,
to try that out.
and I enjoy old Colin's writing style as well. He does make me laugh sometimes. So definitely want
Yes.
to go check that one out.
Yes, absolutely. So hope you're all doing well out there. Thank you again for tuning in, for your love, kindness, and support. Again, remember the best way to support the show is to drop a comment, leave a rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps us out. Get into all the algorithms and stuff like that, so people want to search for the show. Again, Jamie, thank you for your time, and hope you all do well out there. We'll talk to you again next week. And until next time, I'm Bonfire, and I will see you online.